And today's episode, we have something a little different. We're excited to share with you guys something that we've been anticipating coming out for quite a while. It's a new program specifically for you betrayed women. And if you haven't joined us before, I'm Ashlynn, the once betrayed.
I'm Coby, the once addicted.
And I'm Brannon, the expert, or so they call me, the expert.
Oh, he's the expert. He's not our therapist, but he is absolutely a big part of our own journey as we get to chat here all the time. And he helps, what is it? Hundreds, thousands, millions of people.
Absolutely. Well, and getting beyond betrayal, not staying stuck in betrayal. It's like my favorite thing. I love seeing people progress and get beyond just staying stuck in the pain and being able to turn that pain into growth. And it's just awesome to see. And I love my job.
Good. And I think what you're talking about is something we all see, is that like it never feels like it's going to end. It's this never ending season of pain and grief. So be able to step into your own power of I can make change in my own life is incredible to watch. So we're happy to be a small part of that for a lot of you. But you guys are the ones doing the work.
And you have to know from my perspective, because I was not part of this program, I would hear Ashlynn send me Marco Polos after they would record. Brannon and Ashlynn would record. And then she would come home and just be totally lit with excitement. And she was energized. And normally when we record courses, it's really emotionally taxing and it's draining. But Ash would come home excited and just like, this is so good. And I want people to have this, because you would know, Ashlynn, that it would help people move beyond betrayal. And I'm excited for all of you to get your hands on this, because if Ashlynn's excited about what she and Brannon put together, then it's going to serve, it's going to help, it's going to lift, it's going to inspire. And like Brannon said, it's going to keep you from being stuck, which is important.
Yes.
Well, and what I want to say one more thing. There's nothing like this out there. This is legit. So this is a legit process of healing that Ashlynn and I walk you through. And it's not, totally easy, but the reason why I think Ash and I were so excited, Coby, is because we knew as we were producing this, that we were producing something real. It's not just an online course that you just click through the course. If you go through the process that we've outlined, it will get you beyond betrayal. It will work. And we know that it will. So we're totally pumped about it. But one thing that we talk about in it some is how to deal with your triggers, how to overcome your fear, and deal with the triggers that come up, these trauma triggers that come up after betrayal has happened. So we want to touch on that today some, and just talk about the process to work through in dealing with your triggers. Speaking of being stuck in betrayal, one of the ways that you can get stuck is just feeling triggered all the time. Is that true?
Yes.
Do you hear it a lot, Ashlynn, from the women that you work with, that, man, like these triggers just keep coming up?
Yes. Brannon, I have to stop you because we're not actually recording to Facebook. That was a practice.
That was the
It was so good.
It totally was.
And he can still use it, but we have to.
It was so good.
The Facebook died because we took. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was like, you guys were rolling. I was like, oh, that was so good. And then I was like, oh, but she's not on it. So like,
you guys tell something was off. I'm gonna go grab a drink real quick of water.
You guys are one hit wonders. That's for sure. Yeah, like a one take wonders, not one hit, but one take wonder. Because that was.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was good.
We made it happen.
Yep,
okay.
You did.
I hate how Facebook finds us out.
Yeah, that's annoying, right? Like, at least give me a few more minutes.
Yeah, well, and then I have to like totally redo it. So now it's not even working.
So once again, just focus on your excitement about it at the beginning, and you know, it's a few details, but oh, Brandon's on here. So once again, the beginning, like excitement, and you know why you're excited about it.
They
and
end more about what it is.
more about what it is, and
Okay, so not the
yeah, how
beginning.
it's structured. So yeah. So and you can mention, we'll tell you more about it at the end. That'll actually get them to stay listening through the end, kind of also. So let's mention the website at the beginning too, which I don't think.
Oh
we did.
yeah, that's really good.
So Coby, can you help that, because they let them kind of, maybe you can try to remember the. Are you going live?
It won't. Now it's like timed out and it's just spinning.
Oh boy.
Can you try on your end, or you're probably not
I'd have to. Whoever the first person logs in is the only person that can get on
So
Facebook.
Ash, close, quit Safari. Like just go down to the icon and right click. Yeah. And then just open it back up again.
What if I went live like 50 times and it's just not showing? That'd be awesome.
And they've heard everything we've said. I can check actually.
Please delete if so.
Please delete. Please delete.
Oh, Tyler got his first touchdown this weekend.
Hey, that's cool. That's
Awesome.
exciting. Did you video it, the play?
Yeah.
You'll have to send it to us.
Okay.
How was he jacked?
Yeah. I mean, the team. It was 53-0. So we can destroy him. So
That's awesome, though.
All right, here we go.
Did that work?
Yeah, it worked. So I'm going live. 3, 2, 1.
yeah, I'm muting.
Facebook. What's up, people?
Hello, hello.
Hope you guys are doing well. Glad you're here. And a little tidbit about today.
We're going to be announcing our upcoming program for Just the Betrayed. We're really excited for Beyond Betrayal, but it will not, the website we're going to mention, you guys get to see us here live the day before it's released. So come back to the website tomorrow and you'll see the program and can go from there. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, today's episode I'm excited for because, one, we're sharing 5 tips on how to move through betrayal trauma triggers. It's something we all want to know. However, we're also excited because we're sharing our new upcoming program, Beyond Betrayal. And Brannon and I worked on this together, and it's been a 2020 labor of love that I think will definitely help people move through that betrayal and way beyond it.
Yeah, I think that just from the outside perspective, you know, Brannon and Ashlynn both collaborated on this. I was not a part of it. And the only thing that I can tell you about this program is that when they were done, they were both just like, oh my gosh, this just keeps getting better and better. And they recorded over a couple of days. And I know for sure that they were excited because they were connecting dots. And I knew that based upon that, they were putting together something that was really unique to the arena of betrayal trauma. And I know that all I know is, and I don't know the content, but I know that Ashlynn came home just excited and invigorated. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And she was just thrilled about how it played out. So if that's any indication as to the quality of the content, Ashlynn's level of excitement, then hopefully that'll give you an insight as to what you can expect as far as what they put together. It was awesome, Brannon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, just producing it with Ashlynn, it was just fun, but also we just could feel that the process that we were putting together was unlike anything out there, and so much more than just some online course. It was just incredible. So we'll talk more about it at the end of this episode and give you more specific information about what it is and why it works. So hang on for that.
Yes.
But yeah.
If you're new, I'm Ashlynn. I'm the once betrayed.
I'm Coby, the once addicted.
And they call me the expert.
Because you are.
He's helped loads of people, countless people, over a decade. And we're just really pleased that we get to have Brannon with us as the expert. He's not our therapist, but he's the resident expert in the field, and the insights and the takeaways have been beyond value for us here, which is great.
Yeah, I would say I'm an expert, and I think one of my expertise is definitely specializing in helping people get beyond betrayal, work through staying stuck in pain, and actually turning that pain into growth and healing. So it's one of my favorite things that I get to be a part of and watch that process work. So really, that's what we're talking about today, is the 5-step process of working through triggers. And one place where people get really stuck with their betrayal is staying stuck in obsessive thinking and fear around their triggers. They get triggered into this fear, and then they stay stuck in that. Have you seen that before, Ashlynn?
Oh yeah. And it feels, we talked about this in my group this morning. It feels never ending. Like, when is this going to be over? Every day is hard. I'm being triggered all day long, and it feels very hopeless. It feels very alone. Even if you have the therapist and the tools, it just is, it's hard. And so I think it is part of the process. We all go through those seasons of, when is this going to be over and why is it so hard? But as we begin to really put to work the skills that we're maybe being taught, and trying to really put to use, it's just practice over and over and over, right? So we're still going to possibly have triggers, but it's the ability to really move through them and recognize them real time.
This is going to be a great episode. And Brannon, before we keep rolling, I just wanted to just say this one thing that is, for those of you who are listening to this after the launch, you can go to beyond-enough.com/beyond betrayal, and you get information straight away there. And we'll have some more details on the program at the end, like Brannon had talked about. But today's episode is going to be pretty unique, and we're excited about it. So
we totally forgot that, Coby. Way to catch that, man.
We also forgot our little review here that Coby's patiently waiting for.
Yeah, we're trying to cram too much into this intro thing, but we're doing it. We're hitting it.
We're doing it. We're going to make it happen.
Coby, go
exactly. For it. So if you haven't yet, you can leave a review, and we just might read yours. You can rate us and review us. We'd love to hear from you.
And it can be anonymous.
It can be anonymous. This says, "Opened doors for tons of." That's the title of it. And it says, "I discovered your podcast about 4 years ago and was so excited and shared it with my spouse who suffered with sex addiction. He wasn't ready at the time to acknowledge, accept, and learn. So it wasn't until 3 years later that he on his own, after reaching his lowest point, came back to the podcast. So many doors of knowledge and healing from listening to the podcast. So many tools, resources are provided through your podcast, every program, and Instagram. So grateful for you three. Thanks for all the wealth of knowledge you share." You're so welcome. We're glad that it's helping. And that really does speak to, when you really are ready, then progress and healing can take place. And I think this is a really good that's a really good review to tee up today's episode.
I appreciate that. She mentioned the resources we give here and on Instagram and Facebook for free, right? But that we also have these other programs when you're ready to okay, I want to do the work.
Dive in. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yep. So thank you for that.
All right, Coby, are we good? I'm chomping at the bit to get to this
Let's
content.
get it.
I'm excited.
So let's just stop for a minute.
Let it
good
roll.
To go, right? Let's do it. Okay. All right. Working through triggers. You guys know what a Chevy Nova is?
Yes.
I grew up in one.
Oh, did you?
That was our family car. It was reddish, maroonish, and it had these beautiful vinyl seats that when they cracked were like
Daggers.
Scissors, like razor blades.
I hate Chevy Novas.
Oh, I do too.
Well,
I
for
do
different
too.
reasons. I bet you get triggered too by a Chevy Nova in
my
different
gosh.
ways than me. I
Yeah.
watched my dog when I was 10 years old get run over by a Chevy Nova right in
Oh.
front of me.
That's horrible. I'm
And
sorry.
so a Chevy Nova, when I see one, just as a 10-year-old boy watching my best friend get run over by a car. I've talked about this before, I think. The whole reason I'm bringing it up is we're talking about triggers. You know, what can be a trigger? Anything can be a trigger. A Chevy Nova can be a trigger. Smells can be very triggering. Other emotions can trigger things. So we're talking about getting triggered into what's called the fear cycle, where you start to ruminate, you start to spin, you start to obsess, you start to try to control things because you're in a lot of fear. And the reality is everybody's triggers are different because we've all had different experiences in life, where women in bikinis on the beach might be triggering for one person, but not for another. And things like random things like Chevy Novas can be triggering for one, but not for another.
Yeah.
So when we talk about triggers, we're really talking about any stimulus that starts to push you into that fear cycle. So, Ashlynn, if you don't mind me asking, what are some examples of like some triggers that you have or
have had, yeah.
through? Yeah.
And that's another point, is that they can change, right? And
They can diminish, they can change. You
Yeah.
can totally work through them.
Okay, so one that might sound a little crazy, but it was, I mean, like you described, it can be, it's that to me, it's very real. And often it's my body showing up without my brain necessarily recognizing it.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, when Coby was in active addiction, almost a decade ago, right? A long time ago, he would go to the basement with like a tray full of rubbish, is what he calls it. And he would choose movies that I didn't want to watch so that he could be alone to do what he wanted to do. So I saw like this pattern of the basement and eating food and watching or escaping. This was a huge trigger for me.
Yes.
And the craziest part, Brannon, is this is something I've known for years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've known this. We've talked about it, Coby and I've talked about it in therapy. But what's kind of crazy to me is I actually haven't done a specific trauma therapy session on this visual. And so last week I said, I'm not sure why I'm still here, but clearly it's still in my brain. Like it's rooted inside my body. And although I'm not like, I know Coby would not go into that place. And if he does, that's his stuff, not mine. My body still shows up that way sometimes. So even for me, 6 years into recovery, I can still point out and recognize there's still a trigger there, even though I'm like past it. Right.
Absolutely.
For me, it was also, Coby being on his phone after work hours. Like, what's he doing? Who's he talking to? Checked out, whatever, because that was often how he showed up in connecting with other gals. What else? Probably sometimes actually working out was sometimes triggering.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know where his head was. And so I was making mountains out of molehills and assuming a lot of things instead of just asking, is this a trigger for you? And so I created my own trigger by assuming it was his trigger.
Right. So listen to this. So like Coby getting like junk food and going to the basement sounds like such a small thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He grabbed some potato chips and some sugar and went to the basement. But in your mind, it's a big thing. In your mind, it's like, whoa, like the unsafety here, right? And so triggers can be, they can be little tiny things and they do seem crazy to other people.
Yeah.
Or they can be big things, right? If you've gotten in a horrible car accident before, and a certain car hit you, and you see that car on the road, it can trigger you.
Totally.
But one thing I want to really point out here as we get into working through triggers, there's a reason why triggers are there. It's not that we're just crazy. And I want everybody who's ever been triggered, which is all of us, to stop for a minute, practice a little self-compassion, and realize that your brain and your body is doing what it can to help you survive. It's actually quite remarkable what it can remember and focus on, and like totally. I like how you said it. I forget how you said it, Ashlyn. Like it sears it in your bones or whatever. It's there because that danger has hit you. And so you're remembering those things because they've been dangerous. So you're hypersensitive to those things coming back into your life. So you're very, very unconsciously aware that those things are coming into your world.
I think that's important that you mention unconsciously, right? So sometimes, especially in the beginning for me, I wasn't aware that I was being triggered. I just was reacting to what I was feeling. And I wasn't sure why I was feeling the way I was, but I knew I was mad. I knew I was suspicious all of a sudden. I knew I was like going into this cycle, but I didn't know why. So
oh, okay. So Ashlyn, you're hitting the first one. Okay. We said there's a 5-step process. The first part of the process is awareness. So because you will unconsciously go into this fight or flight or freeze mode, this self-protection mode. If you understand how the brain works, it's the middle part of your brain that's just instinctually trying to help you survive. So it's automatic. Such an important part of the process of working through triggers is being able to identify what does it look like when I start to get triggered? What do my thoughts spin on? What does my body do? What other emotions come in? Do I feel resentment? Do I feel frustration, sadness? Do I clench my jaw? Do I grit my teeth? Do I hold my fist? Like, what does it look like when I start to get triggered? I want to just disconnect and hide in my bedroom and not talk to anybody. So what behaviors do you start having? So the first step is become aware of what triggered looks like for you, right?
Yeah. And I love all of that because it is so different for all of us, right? And I wasn't even aware of those physical sensations of, for me, I get really hot in my chest. My hands start even shaking. And so for me to not recognize that, I really didn't. I was so disconnected from my feelings and my body that when that little baby step of awareness, and I started to recognize, maybe it wasn't real time, but maybe it was like an hour after or the next day when I'm like, oh, I made a connection. That's why I was losing my mind.
Right.
Because of this, and that makes sense. And so that awareness, even if it's not real time, moves me forward to the next time when it could happen.
That's it, Ashlyn. I would say it's more than half the battle. So we're talking about this 5-step process. This is the major piece of it. It's mindfulness. It's becoming conscious. You go from unconscious to conscious. And once you're conscious of it, now you can kind of decide what to do with it. Okay. So going along with that, let's hit on the second one, which helps you be more conscious. And that's an auditory acknowledgement of it. Okay. So it's saying it to yourself out loud, or it's saying it to somebody else. I'm triggered, and I know I'm triggered because this is what I'm doing. Okay, so once do you know why it's important to say it out loud? Coby, do you know why it's important to say it out loud?
No.
We're talking about consciousness, right? When you say out loud something, you're moving it from the middle part of your brain to the front neocortex part of your brain. So from your reptilian part of your brain into your mammalian part of your brain. So you're going from this automatic response thing to this more logical, rational place of, whoa, now I'm aware. I said this out loud. I'm aware that I'm triggered. I am in fear right now. I call a friend. I think I'm triggered right now and I'm in fear. Or I say it to myself, or I say it to God. But now that I've said it, I'm up here in the front part of my brain. And I now have space between stimulus and response. And I'm in that space where now I can kind of start to choose what I want to do with that trigger. So does that make sense?
And the visual for me of that space, like a simple word like that, but it really makes sense to like step back, give yourself some room to breathe, Okay. And there's plenty of times, Coby, where I know I've told you I'm feeling triggered right now in this moment. And not all the time did I do that, but you really were able to show up for me. Maybe not all the time. We practice and we are not perfect.
But that's a gift, really, to speak it, because it is it's a very powerless, helpless feeling to know that your partner is triggered and there's nothing that
Yes.
you can effectively do to help.
Yeah.
And hearing it and understanding it is a gift, because it's like, oh, this is about me being there to support my partner regardless of what they're triggered.
You know what,
about.
and we could go off on a tangent on this, and we can't do that, but where as you know, they're working through their betrayal triggers. If they say auditory, I'm triggered right now, and if it triggers the partner of like, oh, I can't handle that, then it triggers the other partner even
A ping
more,
pong.
and it starts to feed each other. But what's beautiful is that's the space where the person who has betrayed has real opportunity to help create safety and be an asset for their healing, to be able to say, I'm not triggered by your trigger. I can actually hold space for you to process that trigger. I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to punish you for it. I'm going to be an asset for you to work through that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the bone that God threw to the betrayer is, look, like, you can have this space to rebuild trust, to help me work through my pain, even the pain that you've somewhat caused here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, I don't want to go off on that too far. Go ahead, Ashlynn.
I just want to share something that I think was powerful. It happened last week. My mom listens to our podcast.
Hi, Mom.
And I love my mom. And we're very clear to my mom and to our kids, like, we don't blame any of our current or history on our parents. Like, they knew the best, or they did the best they could with what they had, right? We all are doing our thing. So I love that she listens.
Mom, by the way, you have an amazing daughter. So
thank you. Cool. So here's the thing. So a lot of you know, my dad passed away. It's getting close to a year, which is mind-boggling. It feels like yesterday. But last December, right after Christmas, and last week we were leaving my daughter's football game, and my mom was driving in front of us, and she saw a fire engine, and all the lights going on and the sirens, and it drove past and went, and we were driving in separate cars, and we got to her house before she did, and she got there, and I'm so proud of her because she said, "You guys, I just realized I was triggered." Like, she could name it. She did step 1, and then she did step 2, and she told us, and she said, hearing and seeing those lights reminded me of the night your dad passed away.
Good. Look how conscious she is.
Yes.
Good
and
example.
She's like, it put me in this place. Like, I'm sad now. And she was feeling a lot.
But she's processing it.
Yes. But for me to see that, like, it's empowering when we start to acknowledge and can speak it, but it's also empowering to see it in your friend or in the person you love, when they start to be able to own some of that rather than letting everything happen to them. It's like, no, I understand my body's showing up this way, but I also can show up for myself.
Absolutely. That you do have the power to you can have control over your mind rather than have your mind have control over you. Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. The third one actually goes right along with what we're saying. And sometimes I think this one needs to happen before the acknowledgement. But what it is radical acceptance of self in the trigger. So if you start to judge yourself in that trigger, then now you're taking fear and you're adding shame to it. A self-rejection. Well, I shouldn't be so, like, this is crazy. This is stupid.
I know better.
I know better. I've been working recovery a long time. This
Look at me. Why do I still have that stupid trigger of Coby going into the basement? I know better. I'm Ashlynn.
Exactly. Well, any bit of pride or self-rejection or shame thrown on top of a trigger is not going to be helpful. What is helpful is some radical acceptance. So some self-compassion you know what? I do have a trigger, and that's okay. I accept it. I accept that that's where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
I accept that maybe I've had a hard day today, and of course I'm triggered, and anyone would be triggered, who's been through the things that I've been through, and it's okay.
And I hear, Brannon, you talking to yourself like you would talk to your child or your friend or someone you love, which is sometimes what we forget in those moments. And we're just beating ourselves up for not showing up or forgetting all our tools and forgetting everything we've learned, and then just like out of control moment.
Yeah. I've changed the golden rule, Ashlynn.
Okay, what is it?
So what is the golden rule, Coby? Do you know the golden rule?
No.
Do unto others as you would have others do to you.
Yeah. So the golden rule is now do unto yourself as you would do unto others.
That makes a lot of sense. Why isn't it that?
Yeah, because we always treat other people with more compassion and forgiveness than we do ourselves. So give that to yourself. Give yourself space to feel what you're feeling. Okay. So after you've gotten aware, you're conscious of what's going on, you've created some space between the stimulus and response, you're kind of in that place there. Then you bring some rationale in, and some logic, not just emotion, into the equation, and you start to assess what your options are. Okay. So that's the next one is to assess your options. Okay. I'm having an emotion. Just because you're having an emotion that's a trigger doesn't mean that you shouldn't trust that emotion. But you need to stop and assess and reality check. Okay. That trigger's telling me to go to my husband's work and scream at his secretary right now. I'm going to assess that, like, maybe that's not the best thing to do to deal with this trigger. Ashlynn, you're laughing, but this is actually
it makes sense in your head in the moment, but that's the emotion, right?
I'm throwing all his clothes on the curb. Like, I'm done with this. Like, this is what I'm going to do. To be able to stop for a minute and really assess, like, what is effective here? What's helpful in this moment? I could go to his office and yell at the secretary. Maybe what's most effective for me in this moment is to go for a drive by myself up in the mountains and hang out by the stream and talk to the trees.
Yeah.
And that might be the best thing for me right now. But you're assessing your options. You're looking at what's in your power and what's going to help you process and what tools you have to use in order to deal with the fears that are coming up.
I'm going to pipe in here, and you can too if you want, Coby. But for me, I love that you bring up, like, get to the mountains. Or for me, yeah, it's like, how many times have I just gotten in the car and gone up to, Provo Canyon to just do nothing.
Yes.
Just to be there because it's quick and short, and I can just cry in my car or journal in my car or think and process. Or I go on a walk in our neighborhood, just short, but there's a street on our neighborhood that there's no houses yet. And so I just walk up and down it, and I'll breathe and think and get to a logical place. And that movement really helps me do that. I would highly recommend you do this before you act. So that goes for, like, I'd like to tell my group girls, do a first draft before you even bring it to group, because sometimes when we're in that trigger and oh my gosh, I got to go, like, talk this out and stuff. Sometimes it's just more helpful to just do it with yourself first, get clear, and then go to your group, or then go to your partner, and then go to, so that we're not just unloading and expecting everyone to fix it.
But I gotta say, Ashlynn, and really this is in our Beyond Betrayal program. We help work you through this and help you create these. But if you don't have tools in that moment, you're going to have a hard time assessing what your options are.
Yeah.
So if you haven't, really worked through, like, journaling works for me, or going to the mountains, or calling this friend, or having these tools, then your mind is just spinning in that fear, and you're thinking, I've got to control something. So to have a toolbox really helps you in that assessment mode, because then it's like, okay, I've done this before. I know it works. I know it doesn't work. Right. So, okay. You totally I love what you just said, Ashlynn. But you just said stop and assess before you act. So the next step to work through a trigger is acting. Is, you know, you've accepted your trigger, you've assessed your options, and it's one of two things. Okay, it's either asserting yourself and acting on what that emotion is telling you. I'm in danger. I need to do something about this because I really am in danger. Or it's acting opposite to what the trigger's telling you to do. Okay. He's home late from work. It's telling me to go yell at his secretary. I actually need to just chill here at home and try to let go of this trigger. It's a trigger, and that's what it is. And it's important and it's big to me. But the best thing for me to do is to try to let this go, because it's not in reality. It's not. If I see a Chevy Nova, instead of like running for my dog and locking him in what I need to do is take a deep breath and realize a Chevy Nova just drove by. Like, that's it. Like, it's okay. It's just a Nova, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So you assess the situation, and then you either assert yourself or act opposite. One of those two things. And once you've done that assessment, it should be an easy decision to be able to say, okay, this is something I need to just let go of, or this is something that I need to act on.
Yeah. It's interesting. This episode, I think, really goes along with our last week's episode of like starting to trust ourselves again, right?
Yes.
Because what you just mentioned is that, like, okay, can I trust that this is just a lot of emotion happening, or am I safe, or am I unsafe, right?
Yep.
So it kind of is good practice, I would say, to start trusting yourself again, to be able to slow down enough to get logical in that moment. Am I safe?
Yep.
There's a really cool, sorry, Brandon. There's I guess a couple of thoughts here on this from my perspective. When our kids come home from school and it's clear that they have had a really hard moment and they are triggered and they're feeling emotions, the first thing that I want to be able to do is just be by their side and hear them out. Just unload it. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. And because it's clear that they're hurting, and tell them to rub some dirt on it and walk it off is not going to help them. And if we can view our partners as the same and realize I don't have to fix it, and realize
their emotions are valid.
Their emotions are valid. They are. Throwing a triggered moment back in the face of your partner it'll be like fuel on a fire. But remember that we don't expect perfection from our partners. And in turn, we hope that they don't expect perfection from us. And so give them the gift of having a triggering moment and realizing it's okay to have that. And if we can apply the steps that we're talking about here, then we can get through that. But I don't need to fix it. I don't need to try to take it away. I just need to be by their side as they work through it.
Absolutely. And that's how you become an asset for them.
Yes. And you want to be by their side. So when they do have triggers, they come to you and say, hey, I need your support right now.
Right.
And if you can have this conversation in a moment where you're not triggered, either one of you, and put together your game plan, man, I really believe that can increase your effectiveness to work through the triggers considerably. And I guess that'd be part of my little tidbit on this episode is do it when you're not triggered, because then you can both think logically.
We know that thoughts create emotions and emotions create thoughts. And so if you shift some thinking, you can change the way that you're feeling. It's basic cognitive behavioral therapy. And so when you're triggered, if you go down the rabbit hole that you always go down, you'll lead to more fear and more thoughts of fear, right? So much of the the process and the healing of dealing with triggers is about reality checking. It's about getting grounded in what really is going on. You're having a trauma response in a lot of ways. So you're learning how to say, okay, like, let me really get clear with what's going on. I want to test something out with you guys. So I want a reality check with you for a minute. Okay. So,
Jeez, Brannon.
so what is that, Coby?
My favorite digit.
He's flipping us off for those only listening.
What is that?
Or is he not? I don't know.
This is a lot of fun. Let's just take your time here, Coby. I'm having fun with this.
I don't know. What are you doing, Brannon?
What does this mean? What is it?
As an American, it means you're flipping me off. You're telling me like, go away. No?
Okay. Thank you, Ashlynn. You totally set me up. So you put a bunch of meaning around this, right? So this is intended to get you to think, I don't like you or screw you or whatever, right? So it triggers a lot of emotion. If you reality checked with me, what is this? Just reality check it with me.
Emotion, your finger.
It's a digit that's pointing up.
It's Brannon. Yeah, it's Brannon's middle finger that is pointed upward. Like that's what it is. Like we remove all meaning
Power.
all power that we've given it, and we just get grounded in the here and now. It's just Brannon's middle finger that is pointing upward. That's all it is. And so if you get grounded in that, then it's like, okay, what do I do with that reality? That Brannon is putting up his middle finger right now. Well, that doesn't mean much to me right now. So, I'm not going to go try to control it or freak out or any of that. I can put a picture of Mickey Mouse on a board and on a whiteboard. People will look at it and all these feelings like, oh, that makes me so happy. Some people will be like, oh, I hate Disneyland. Like so expensive. And I'm like, well, what's on the board? And they're like, that's Mickey Mouse. I'm like, no, that's, and they're like, well, it's 3 circles. I'm like, no, it's ink on a whiteboard. It's just ink. That's all it is ink on a whiteboard, but it means all this stuff. So let's back it up to just get clear in the here and now. What's actually just going on right now? And the process we just went through helps you do that. You have to almost rewind it. Like, whoa, I am in a frenzy. Well, why am I in a frenzy? I accept that I am. I accept that I'm in fear. I see it. Okay, what's the reality now? Now that I'm in reality, let me assess my options. Let me either act opposite to it or assert myself in it. And that's the process of it. It takes practice. And with each of these things we've talked about, there's skills and there's tools, and it takes practice.
Yes. I do just want to mention, I've shared with Coby plenty of times, in the moments that I have felt triggered or recognizing it and saying, hey, I know that this is the story I was making up, or this felt very real to me and this is what it was feeling like, but I know truth and this is what I see. That was a lot easier for Coby to step into, but also to still understand and have empathy for that's still where my body or my mind is going, or, was going, even if I know I'm safe, even if I know truth.
So that's advanced recovery, what you just said, Ashlynn, which is I accept that I'm triggered and I know what the truth is, but I still know that I'm triggered.
Yeah.
That's
which is
awesome
it's
place
hard.
to get to.
It's hard to be able to say that. But it's also just part of it. I'm not expecting Coby to fix it. I'm not blaming Coby. I'm not throwing him in shame and saying, because of you, I am triggered. I'm sure I did that at some point or another. But like you said in the beginning, it wasn't helpful for me to do those things. And so I just want to make sure, if you're listening and you felt like, okay, this is giving me some answers, some skills that I can put to use, to remember to use them for your best interest and not as fuel to trigger your spouse or trigger a friend or your family or whoever.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that there's like some really rich content that's been in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is stuff that you guys talk about in detail in the course Beyond Betrayal. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, that course, I don't like to call it a course, that program that Ash and I created it walks you through being able to turn your triggers into growth and really get what Ashlynn just said is awesome. And if you can really understand the magnitude of what she said about being able to go to you, Coby, and say, I am triggered, but I know what reality is. Okay. Somebody who's really spinning in their betrayal and stuck in that pain can't do that. They don't have the mindfulness tools. They don't have the process that they can work to get to that point where they can be that self-compassionate, that honest, that mindful of what's actually going on. And, that we have a 5-step process we work you through, but each process is deep. Some of it's hard, but it will work to get you beyond betrayal. There's nothing out there like this program that Ashlynn
Right.
put together.
I love it. And the idea that, that there is life beyond betrayal. And I have is a brilliant concept, because it doesn't have to be identity. It doesn't have to be this place that holds this scarlet letter. But I will say that even like recovery does not keep you from having triggers moving forward. What recovery does is it allows you to efficiently and effectively move through these moments in a very skilled way that can keep you connected to yourself and to your partner. And if there's something that I don't know what's in the program, I don't know what's in it. But what I do know is I know the pain. If you are the betrayed and you're listening, please know that there is this place that you can get to that exists, that doesn't have the pain that you feel. This life beyond betrayal can be one where there's strength and growth, and it's one where you can really thrive. It doesn't have to be this way. And I don't know why I'm having an Oprah moment right now about this.
Coby, what you're
But
saying though is so important to understand. This program is not designed to just get you out of pain. When you work through this betrayal, you get beyond it, you will feel empowered. You will feel powerful. You will know that you can overcome things that you never thought you could, and you'll see a whole new view of the world, opportunities and hope that will come. And so it's not just about trudging your way through the pain, but it's actually taking all the stuff that you've been through and working through it and becoming empowered. And so I love what you're saying, Coby, because that's totally what Ashlynn and I have put together.
Yeah.
And that's how you have lived, Ashlynn. You are not the same. You are not the same woman or partner as you once were. And moreover, if you grab this program and run with it, it will put you on a trajectory from being empowered, like you talked about, from being powerful. It will give you knowledge, and it will give you skills, and it will give you levels of mindfulness you haven't had. And those things, I hope, will perpetuate continually. And my hope is that it will give you the ability not just to get through betrayal, but it will put you on this trajectory of growth moving forward that can help you continue to be the person that you want far beyond what you have experienced. Because, Ash, you've grown in ways that I never dreamed and never thought possible. And so if there's any part that you see in Ashlynn that you want to have, remember that everything that she has learned, everything that Brannon has gained in the years and years of their practice is in that program. And I just wish nothing but healthy living for you who are listening to this, because it's possible. It's so possible. So go get it.
I love that. Thank you, Coby. And I 100% agree with that. And there's nothing more, Brannon, we talked about this in the beginning, empowering than to see someone who feels empowered, who once didn't.
Yeah.
To someone who starts to see, I have a choice in my own happiness. I have a choice in my own healing, and to step into that. It's not easy work, and it doesn't end. There's no graduation certificate. We don't give you guys that, because it's this ongoing growth mindset belief in, I want to be the best of me. I can change my mind. I can show up and grow in different ways. And Coby's right. Like, life still happens after recovery, and these are skills that I continue to use through different experiences that life throws at us.
Yeah.
So yes, we want it for all of you.
Absolutely. So are we going to talk about the ins and outs of the launch, how much it is, and when, how long it's open?
We should. Let's do it. So we're launching it September 15th, 2020. This year's been wonky, so we're at least bringing you something really great mid-September. And it's going to be a week-long launch. And when we do a launch, it's the best price you're going to get. So if you are considering it and you're thinking, oh, like, we make it possible so that no matter where you're at, whether you're with a therapist, you're not with a therapist, you're in the middle of Dubai or you're here in Utah with us, I don't care. We've made it so that it works for you. These are audible, they're video, they're printables. So there's really not a lot of excuses of, I can't make this happen for me. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a computer. With one headphone in and one headphone out, it's making it happen. It's go at your own pace. So there's some hard modules that we have where we're really asking you to step into and to move through, be that buffalo, and to move through that pain so that you can get to the other side. That's not going to happen in like a day. Right. So it's take your time, and you have access to that as long as you need it. Yep. So head over to beyond-enough.com/beyond betrayal. And that first week, you're going to get your best price. Without a promo code or anything, it's just there. It's on sale.
I think it's going to be 40% off.
There you go.
Yep. The first week. And so if that's appealing to you in any way to get that kind of discount, then the first week is your week.
And I will add this in, and I know, I'm not a salesman, I'm a therapist, but, for the price and for the content and what you get in that program, it is like such a value. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars on therapy and groups and programs and things like that for the same thing that I actually think for not even as good of content and a process that Ashlynn and I walk you through. So just a testament from me as a therapist, it might be cutting into my business a little bit.
Totally.
But it is awesome. And the value, it is so worth the cost. So
awesome. We're grateful that you guys are here with us, whether you choose to go and step into that journey with us this week or not. We appreciate you being here with us, and we're here every week with free content for you. And when you're ready to step into the work, you can head over to our website.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Peace out.